This dungeon crawler from Nippon Ichi Software is as traditional of an RPG as you'll find on Nintendo Switch, even though it's also available on PlayStation 4, PlayStation Vita, and PC. Set in a twisted anime storybook, Labyrinth of Refrain, Coven of Dusk features intricate first-person dungeons as players take on various classes and face random encounters. The world of Labyrinth of Refrain, Coven of Dusk has more than enough charm to sustain any interested dungeon crawler RPG fans. However, it may not satisfy those looking for a little more action in their exploration of dungeons, considering its more straightforward turn-based RPG format. Operencia: The Stolen Sun is not a Nintendo Switch exclusive, as it's also available on PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. The game was developed by Zen Studios, who are most well known for creating licensed pinball tables. However, in 2019, they branched out into making virtual dungeon crawler RPGs, combining simplistic RPG gameplay with original 3D graphics. The game incorporates worldwide mythology and folklore as players assemble a party of 4 to restore the land of Operencia after the Sun King has been kidnapped. The combat system features standard turn-based battles, while levels require players to navigate puzzle chambers. Many feel its gameplay plays second fiddle to its storytelling, but it is an enjoyable experience nonetheless. Released in 2019, Children of Morta centers on a family of custodians who occupy Mount Morta, a mountain filled with dungeons, caves, and mysteries. There are 7 total playable characters that can be unlocked throughout the main story, each representing a different RPG class, including warrior, archer, assassin, and healer. What makes Children of Morta a unique dungeon crawler on this list is that its dungeons are procedurally generated, meaning every playthrough is a completely unique experience. By the time players get to the end, they may even find themselves oddly attached to the peculiar Bergson family, making the game both a joy to play as well as endearing. The Etrian Odyssey gaming franchise, developed by Atlus, dates back to the Nintendo DS and has been a recurring presence on Nintendo's handheld devices. The first 3 games of the Dungeon Crawler RPG series, released between 2007 and 2010, were remastered and re-released on Nintendo Switch in 2023, which also included a port to the Steam platform. Aside from its graphics and soundtrack, which have been reinvented for the Switch, the game remains faithful to the original DS version story and amount of content. For those unfamiliar with the Etrian Odyssey series, it's a perfect intro to the franchise, but all 3 games can also be purchased separately on the Nintendo Switch store. Darkest Dungeon was first released in 2016 and later ported to the Nintendo Switch in 2018. As of 2024, its sequel, Darkest Dungeon 2, has also become available on the Switch. However, for fans of dungeon crawler RPGs, the original game remains an incredibly entertaining experience. Its real-time movement mechanics make each playthrough feel intense and filled with high stakes. In Darkest Dungeon, players control a character of their choice, exploring intricate, procedurally generated dungeons underneath an estate they've inherited. The game was beloved by critics, who commended its brutal difficulty and how easily players can get sucked into the dark and sometimes traumatizing world underneath their new homes. When it comes to the dungeon crawler RPG genre, few games have made an impression in recent years like Hades. Taking place in the Greek mythos, Hades finds players controlling the son of the god of death, as they make several attempts to escape from the underworld by navigating randomly generated rooms and battling incredibly difficult enemies. Along the way, players can acquire upgrades in the form of boons from the other Greek gods, although if they die, they start back at the beginning of their journey, powerless. It's a game that rewards replayability and can become incredibly addictive, especially for those who love Greek mythology, though completing it might take some incredible resolve. Released in 2021, this dungeon crawler RPG was published by Square Enix and offers an interesting twist to the subgenre's typical gameplay. The game finds players navigating a complicated 99-floor labyrinth, facing randomized foes in a streamlined combat system. The aesthetics might remind some players on an RPG board game. The combat system features no animations, just photos of characters and enemies that resemble card game art. With its simplistic graphics and gameplay, Dungeon Encounters strips back the dungeon crawler RPG to its most essential elements, offering a surprisingly unique play experience that isn't overcomplicated with story or themes. Released in 2021, Dreamscaper trades its labyrinthian dungeons for complex dreams and nightmares, forcing players to navigate a consistently changing world of their own imagination. Each dream allows players to battle enemies, grow stronger, and head into their next dream more powerful than they were when they started, rewarding longtime players. On top of the engaging, endlessly replayable gameplay of Dreamscaper, there's also an underlying mystery to its narrative that most players would be foolish to ignore. Although it's available on many consoles, including Xbox Series X and PC, it's best enjoyed on the Nintendo Switch, given that players can take their nightmares on the go. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon as a franchise began in 2005 with the Game Boy Advance titles Blue Rescue Team and Red Rescue Team. They have since seen a remake on the Nintendo Switch in 2020 as Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX. What makes this franchise unique as a Pokemon spin-off is its status as a dungeon crawler RPG. Controlling a party of talking Pokemon, players spend the game navigating randomly generated dungeons, battling other wild Pokemon in the process, and recruiting them for their team. Overall, fans of the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon series loved this new title for how it upgrades the previous game with an all-new art style.